India is on a mission to become Viksit Bharat by 2047. But to achieve this vision, skilling and empowering its workforce is critical. A skilled workforce drives innovation, productivity, and global competitiveness. With rapid technological advancements, bridging skill gap has never been more urgent. To address this, India must revamp its education framework. Skilling India isn't just about creating jobs. It's about building a future-ready workforce that can lead globally. By investing in education, technology, and lifelong learning, India can unlock its demographic dividend. Pave the way for a prosperous, inclusive future. Together, let's skill India for Viksit Bharat.
Skilling India for Viksit Bharat, that's the panel that we're starting with. It is my proud privilege to welcome with me the panelists for this discussion. Pankaj Bansal, founder, Carrot Capital and Tact. Karthik Narayanan, CEO, Staffing, Team Lead Services on my right. Jonas Margraf, Managing Director, Fintiba on my left. Dr. Rajesh Shukla, Managing Director and CEO, People Research on India's Consumer Economy, is also on my right. Jaspreet Singh, GCC Leader, Advisory Services, Grant Thornton Bharat, is also with us here today. E.L. James, Pro VC, Karuna University, is with us. And finally, Dr. Mohit Verma, Director, Amity Education, is also joining us. I cannot locate him if he's around. Please join us, sir. All right, I know we are 1 hour since lunchtime, and this is the time when people are most sleepy, and this is one of those sessions where I promise to keep you up and about. So let's start with an exercise. With a show of hands, how many of you have an advanced degree? When I say advanced degree, a degree beyond bachelor's. Oh, that's 80% of you. All right. How many of you have a degree in which you have a job? So essentially your degree, your bachelor's or your advanced degree helped you get a job. Okay, a fewer hands, but still, I think a lot many. You are amongst very few, which is about 51% people in this country, and that is according to Economic Survey of 23-24, who happen to be employable because you have a degree. The Economic Survey suggests that only 51% of people in this country who are graduates are actually employable. Essentially, 49% of this country's population, which is the employable youth, does not end up getting a degree, does not end up getting a job on the basis of their degree, which means that there is a skill mismatch that we are looking at. It is alarming, and it is a problem that we must nip in the bud as soon as we can in order to reach our goals of Viksit Bharat by 2047. And with that in mind, let me quickly begin by asking you, Karthik. You and I have had previous conversations on how much the jobs market has changed in the last decade or so, more pronounced in the last year and a half. And there is a buzzword, AI, which has rattled everybody, especially young graduates. They don't know whether they're going to be employable. They don't know whether they'll have a job or not a year or from now. And data tells you that India needs at least 1 million AI-skilled workforce by 2047. How far are we from that dream or achievement?
No, thanks, Shweta. I think, first things first on the point, that you mentioned about skills and employability, especially. We are a large, I would say, people supply chain company, contract staffing company. Mm-hmm. And what I see is, and on any given month, I have 20 to 30,000 open positions, and I can hardly fill 1/3 of it. Right? So when we speak about,
Are these AI-related jobs?
They're not, they're all kinds of jobs.
Okay.
Yeah, all kinds of jobs. If I have to give you a quick answer to that particular point, I don't think so AI is going to fundamentally replace. I think people who have some knowledge of AI will be able to do slightly better than everybody else right now. So it's not complete automation which is going to replace, everybody's job. People's, ability will be enhanced. But the point that you mentioned, is an important point for us because I think the point is not really understood in depth. And when we are looking at so many open positions, the question I ask myself is, where are the jobs? Where are the people? I think the number one problem which is coming across, which is very poorly understood, is obviously education levels, no questions on that. But more importantly, the 5 southern states are aging. Okay, so there are not enough people, there right now for them to be employed. A lot of young people out there are where they're available is actually up in the north, in Uttar Pradesh, in Bihar, Jharkhand, Northeast. Their education levels are at a particular level, right? So fundamentally, the number one problem is, how do I make sure saying I'm able to get those people skilled at a particular level and being able to get them down? I think that's problem number one. I think there are multiple such issues with respect to quality of skill as well, right? As to what levels they are in. They need to migrate to a different location altogether. I think all of these are fundamental problems for us being able to harness the youth and being able to get them jobs as well. So there's no one answer to the question that you're stating about.
All right, so it's a complex problem, but what you're essentially saying is 1/3 of the jobs that you have remain unfilled because you cannot get the right talent.
That's right.
All right, and so where's the talent and what is the talent doing? Let me get in Dr. Rajesh Shukla. You mentioned about the fact that you are soon going to release research, Dr. Shukla, on where the gaps are in skilling. Can you share some insights with us?
Thank you, Sweta. It is actually the important thing to just know, knowing the and addressing and understanding the issue actually. You see, India is now globalized world actually, so we are not actually working in the, one should not work in the isolation. But if you look at the international classification of standard occupation, which is defined by the ILO, you will find that of the total India's workforce is hardly 4% belongs to level 4, and where China is 25%.
And what do you mean by level 4?
Level 4, when we are saying level 4, those who are, as you have asked, those who are graduated, those who are formally engaged into the services. They are having postgraduate degree, they are having actually graduate and postgraduate, and also doing the professional job actually. So
you're saying only 4% of India's population have are on level 4?
As 4% is hardly, those who are highly specialized tasks requiring theoretical knowledge and decision making, these are the doctors, engineers, teachers, senior management professionals.
Who amongst here is a doctor, engineer, senior manager? Show of hands, please. How many of you are doctors, engineers, senior managers, people in management? Karthik, your hand too, please.
Dare say, not an engineer, not a doctor.
But a senior manager. Again, once again, please, show of hands. How many of you are in senior managerial positions? All right, I think we have a very interesting crowd here, Dr. Shukla. I think majority of us, at least in this in this chamber today, are highly specialized people.
So this is actually issue actually what we are addressing actually. We are addressing just a drop to the ocean actually. 70% India lives into the rural India. Means skills, if you look at this type of, I am saying it is 70%, which is Korea, which looks like the US. But in Korea, total workforce, if you look at it, is 90% is level 4. 90. US is 75%. China is 25% actually. And we are 6%. So I am saying here is the requirement. So one is size matters, but most important thing is what is actually requirement. Second thing, Sweta, I would like to also mention, because we are looking for the Viksit Bharat. Whatever the normal, you can see, issue we are facing for 75 years, it will be not the problem for next after 5 years actually. पानी सबके घर में होगा, बिजली सबके घर में होगा, सबको टीका लग चुका होगा, सबके घर में गैस के सिलेंडर होंगे. Problem will be entirely different actually. To deal that and to create that, we need different set of skills. For that actually we have to work hard actually.
All right. All right. And what will these skills be? Jaspreet Singh, we spoke briefly before this session, and you talked about how it's going to be very difficult for young people to find a job, and to retain that job if they don't skill themselves.
Hello.
I think a very pertinent question, and we are already seeing this. Pick up any newspaper in the last 3 to 4 weeks. It's a global phenomena where freshers are still struggling to find jobs, right? And I think I have a very different perspective to what Karthik said. I think everybody today, especially a lot of senior, with due respect, HR leaders are currently living in denial. If they'll say that, AI will not take away jobs, this is the classical case that we are seeing from just look at ITS companies' hiring pattern in the last 1 year. There are so many jobs that AI will take, but that said, I think the time is when you need to reskill. And reskilling is not going to be easy. And why are we only talking about IT, ITES, or technology jobs when we talk about AI? The problem is much larger. How do we adopt, and you said, where are the future of jobs going to be? Future of jobs is when we look at all such technologies and adapt to them to each industry, and not only go after one particular industry. There's a hype cycle that Gartner promotes. Today, AI is the hype cycle. Everybody starts talking about AI. Till about 2 years ago, everything was on cloud, right? How do we make sure that not only freshers, but people in mid-management are actually able to switch jobs, to understand these technologies much, much better, whether it is AI, whether it is cloud, and how do we increase their employability also, I think is a huge challenge that we are looking at.
Whose responsibility is it? Because the government is spending, they've allocated about 6,000 crore rupees in the budget for skill development, but that's not enough. We've not seen any private sector participation. They're not even ready to roll out the internship scheme. So whose responsibility is it, therefore? Is it down to you and me to reskill ourselves? And if yes, where do we get the right knowledge from?
I think there's no, it's a very difficult question to answer. First of all, there is no one size shoe that will fit everybody. I think obviously it's one individual's responsibility. Today you don't need a fancy degree. There are so many micro-segmentation courses available, 20-minute YouTube videos available while you are stuck in a traffic. You could look at those videos. But I think it's also the responsibility.
They help you in skill building, but do they help you get a job?
If you look at the traditional workforce, right, where everybody needed a higher education degree to get a job, I think the pivot is changing. Look at organizations that hire techies. It's no longer necessary that you have a fancy engineering degree. If you are very good at what you do, you'd still find a job any day. And that's what's happening. There's something called as prompt engineers in AI, people who actually do the coding behind the AI, right? You'll see that almost 30% of those engineers are not even graduates today, right? Why can't we look at one such model with the government-private collaboration and take this to the next level?
Pankaj Bansal, we've, I think, seen in the past couple of years now that traditional education, as Mr. Singh was pointing out, has now kept pace with the industry needs. And so I think the responsibility of reskilling, upskilling comes down to individual employees. What should they do? So I think I'm going to make it easy for you. If I'm a journalist today, and I've been a journalist for the last 10 years or so, which is a decade, what do I need to do today to be able to change my profession, to be able to upskill myself to, let's say, become a management trainee?
So it's very clear, friends, that this whole conversation, we cannot just pin it down to an employee. The problem or the stakeholder that at least I hold responsible is not government. I can give you 10 schemes where government has done what they're supposed to do. I can give you 10, there are 4 ministries who are working on it. I can give you 20 corporations from Bajaj Auto is investing 5,000 crores to Infosys to, I can just continue to name. The problem lies, Shweta, with one segment called investors. Have you heard any fund in India which invests in jobs? Tell me the name. There is fund for finance, there is fund for everything, insurance, real estate, but there is no fund for this. Why is that? Our category of jobs is not categorized. Right? That's the big problem. That's the reason it's not happening. And is the returns not available? Look at a company. I'll give you a real example. Avigna, India's largest gig service provider. This company was 85 crore valued, exited at 900 crores. I've been tom-tomming about it that please, I request investors to come and invest in the category called jobs and skilling. It's not happening. Number two, coming to the institutions, we cannot continue to do degrees. I'm not, sir, a great fan of graduation and post-graduations anymore. You will hire a person if he or she is skilled, ask him, probably he'll agree. Look at the last year's number. Shweta, you quoted 51, it's actually 54%. We own this India Skill Report that you quoted. It is a great story. India is a land of dichotomy. In 2013, when PM Modi took over, we started the report. The number was 33%, 34% of kids were employable. Today, this year, when we concluded, the number is 54%. It's VBox report ETS, which owns TOEFL and GRE. That's a great news, but it's not a great news because still there is 46% to be taken care of. It's a great news that we feel that skilling so much is done. It's not a great news because you just asked, people are worried and scared about AI. Let me give you one more number. Look at the companies last year. 22% jobs were filled last year, non-IT companies, which were from AI. Can you imagine? Non-IT company. I'm not talking like AI company. So even in your company, probably if you check last 2 years what hiring they've done, you will be surprised to see how many people came from AI skilling. Answering your last question, that what you should do or any one of us do. Let me ask a question. People who are 50 plus, are you not scared? Tell me. I'm an investor. I built a company called People Strong. I'm an investor. I sometimes feel when I meet youngsters, the pace at which they work. My son built a company with 2 people. I know companies which have 8 employees and their revenue is $20 million. Can you imagine? And you are saying that AI is not going to impact us? It is not correct. So the only answer is that next 2 years, we all should promise ourselves making a list for Parchun to the work we do. We will use AI to do that. We will have an agent called Shweta for Shweta, and Shweta will learn how that agent will work with Shweta. Next time when you will be interviewed, I can promise you 2 years later, you will be asked your CV and the agent, because your agent will be doing 70-80% of your work. If you cannot find and build an agent, it's our problem. That's my take.
All right, those are very bold predictions, but I also want to engage the other stakeholders in all of this, and that is the education system. E.L. James is with us. Mr. James, I think you as pillars for education in this country have a huge responsibility. You want to come and build people who are ready to take some of these entry-level jobs, at least as you know, people who are in education. What are you doing about it? What are you trying to do as far as bringing up innovation into your curriculum is concerned? I know that government puts a great thrust on Atal Mission Plan. There is money and funding coming from the central government for that. But what are you trying to really change in the ways that traditional education has so far been put to use to ensure that your graduates are future ready?
Before you go into the responsibilities of teaching organizations, let us just think how these teaching organizations are accredited, how these teaching organizations are ranked in this country. This is something which we'll have to think of. You have introduced AI, ML, data analytics, and all that, big data, all that in the syllabi. Now, there is a teaching learning mechanism which is popular in this country, which has to change. Otherwise, what happens is that these people study the theory of AI. They will know artificial neural network, but they will never apply it in the field of water resources. I'm a hydrologist. In the field of water resources or agriculture or health sciences, the way they do it abroad. So we use jargons, but are we really serious about this business? Because we cannot be serious because we are still bothered about a degree. We are degree based. We are not skill driven. As long as we are degree conscious, and you go to a parent, ask him, okay.
So I wanted to ask you that, do you try and change that in parents also? Do you try and counsel parents as well that the world today doesn't care about the degrees of your kids, they care about what skills they learn?
I'll tell you, you take the example of Germany, where they have got the VET system, what they call as dual education model. What they do is 70% of the time they spend in the industry. only 30% of the time they spend in an academic institution. And whatever they study, they apply it. In India, we talk about all that. I'll tell you one thing, industrial houses are shy of the academicians are shy of the industrial end. They both sit in their ivory towers. And whatever they may say about, to show the accreditation agency, you may say that you have got industry academy, a collaboration, partnership. But do you think that a real ecosystem exists here the way in the developed, we are talking about Viksit Bharat, in the developed countries? For example, I was in Israel recently. I found that all their projects in the universities are run by the industries. Industries don't want an R&D system. They outsource it to the university. University does it, solves the problem, and the professor is important there. Why? Because I want to appoint somebody, I sign the paper, not somebody else in the industry sign the paper. So that is
Mr. James,
you
I'm sorry.
empower the academicians.
Okay, but I have to say this. Aren't academicians also a part of the problem? They live in echo chambers, number one. They refuse to go beyond books, number two. They don't really value hands-on experience. You know, it reminds me of a joke I recently saw somewhere on Instagram. It said that a student went to a teacher and said, I know all about AI. I can tell you 5 good things that AI does, but can you teach me how to switch on a computer? You know, so while we tell our people a lot about what is in the theory, and we do that a lot in our classrooms, there is hardly any practical experience. And I think let's take that question to Dr. Mohit Verma also. You know, he's the director at Amity Education. I think perhaps that's something that you can also talk about. Dr. Mohit? There you are, sir. Yes. You know, it's a problem that we're facing increasingly in our education system, despite the new education policy mandating a more and more hands-on learning experience, internships. It hasn't been really put to place.
Actually, the thing is, the 100% implementation of this national education policy can be a game changer, which is not happening right now. There is a need, the center should direct that there should be a uniform credit framework that should be followed by the states and the union territories to bring the uniformity, which is not happening. With respect to the, prior to this session, we and the Karthik, we were talking to each other. There is a need to give this skill at the school level. Let's say China. In December 2024, they implemented the AI from the school itself, from the primary level. So there is need to introduce this AI from the primary level. Let's say Mr. Pankaj Bansal was saying that the 2 people are running a multi-billion-dollar company. This can happen in India also. We can have, you can say more than 200, 500 and 300 unicorns within next 2-3 years. So then there is a need, if we would like to bridge this skill gap. So first we have to focus on the school education. School education can be a game changer. Thereafter, the engineering graduates or whatsoever the management graduates they are graduating, they will have, you can say, the imbibed skill from the school level itself. So there is need to bring this thing into this thing. Because what happens if you, let's say, for the CBSE curriculum, from 2019, the CBSE, they introduced the AI, but they put a condition that the eligibility to teach and offer these AI courses, a school should have a computer lab with at least 20 computers, minimum internet bandwidth of 50 Mbps, and then CBSE provides the teaching. It is not being followed by all the schools at all.
Okay.
Yeah. So if the schools will try to do these things, and let's say,
I mean, partly schools, but partly I believe, I mean, it's your responsibility as well as educators and as academics to perhaps also implement more hands-on learning. And I think we can all take that away, you know, as a lesson. I'm sure there are a lot of young parents also in the house today who understand the importance of going beyond textbooks and who perhaps encourage that amongst their kids. Jonas Margraf is also with us. Jonas, we heard about what Germany has to offer as far as its curriculum is concerned, more comprehensive, more skill-based. You know, tell us about how it's different from India. I'm sure you've been to India enough to know where the stark difference lies.
Yeah, probably not in the details, but at least I know why many students from India come to Germany, and I have some comparisons. I think maybe it sounds to me like we're trying to have a one-size-fits-all approach, right? The question is also what kind of jobs are being replaced by AI and which ones don't. So I think last month the World Economic Forum released the Future Skills Report, and telling what will be the main skills required in the future. And this was, of course, AI, data analytics and all this, but on these other sides, all these topics about creativity, self-reflection, everything that AI cannot do. And I think this is a very important point, how this can be included in curriculums. And then it's probably also that not everyone, and this is the German approach that you mentioned about more vocational training, not everyone will be like a job with top cognitive skills, but some people will rather, I don't know, they will be haircutters or something where you do really hands-on practical trainings. And how can you split people into really jobs or educations where they get their full potential? And then in Germany, it's like a 3-split program, I would say. We have really vocational training, which is school-based with a lot of practical expertise, and then we have the universities of applied sciences that have a very practical focus, and then the classical universities that are more science and research-based. And for me, it's difficult to say to what extent you can apply that to India. I know that many other countries are trying to copy or learning from this approach. So there are like universities of applied sciences in China, they try to copy that. Also in Jordan, there are programs. And yeah, it would be nice to have more cooperation also with India, because especially for India, the demand is so big of students want to go to Germany to start dual degrees and 2+2 programs where you can learn from each other and yeah, improve that whole skill exchange. Because I think this is the next point, right, for developing India, that sort of skill exchange is the basis for economic exchange.
Absolutely.
And I think you will need the money out of trade that was being built through these networks.
Jonas, at FinTiba, you also deal with a lot of Indian students, the Indian diaspora that is in Germany. In your assessment, in your understanding, when you deal with these students, what is 1 or 2 skills that they lack that you believe a German student will have by the time they graduate?
Boy, that's also, I mean, some of them, they don't lack skills, that sort of the best brains come to Germany, and we love to see all these skills coming in. I would say one of the biggest differences is, this is more like probably like a cultural mindset from like the 2 country cultures, is Germany is a much more individualistic country. So you are very self-dependent on organizing everything through a university. There's no hand-holding. Like Indian students, if you grow up in sort of a wealthy background, I don't know, you're used to have like a driver, someone who's preparing your meal, preparing tea, and then you come to Germany and you have to do everything on your own. I think this is one of the biggest obstacles, that sort of it takes so much time. And then Indian students say, so when do I study, when do I work, how do I don't know, how do I clean my how do I do the dishes or the laundry? They have to call their moms, whatever. So this is one of the big things that is really different. And I think when it comes to academics, it's really that's like the responsibility on your own to find your way or to organize yourself. I would say this is a different thing.
Right. We do have a question, sir. I'll come to you. I'll come to you in just a bit. I think we're short on time, but I want to go back to Pankaj here. Pankaj, I think other countries allowing students to be more individualistic, which essentially means letting them do what they want to do. Now, we live in a society where we want our kids to be doctors, engineers, so on and so forth, and there are limited 2 or 3 career options beyond which we either don't support our kids, we don't allow them to grow, or we fear that they may not be able to get a job or 2. My question, therefore, to you is, how do you really change a mindset here? While you can bring about policy reforms, you can invest money, but this is a mindset issue as well.
So Shweta, look at it. We will not be saying graduates. He mentioned, I think, we'll be saying 5.5. That's the NEP, right? Okay. So everything you will do will have a credit. So firstly, India has to implement NEP in its totality, number 1. Number 2, sir mentioned, and I'm completely in disagreement. For instance, internships. Why can't we believe that internships should be done at class 9 to 12? Why can't this happen? A company named UA. I'm giving examples so that people know I'm not talking theory. YUU, VH, AH. Last year, 2 lakh kids registered on it. 2 lakh 9th to 12th class students. People have got scholarships for complete 2 crores to study in Canada. They have got all kind of things. So that's number 2. Third example, education you spoke about. Masters Union, India's #1 college this year, highest placement. Can you tell me which degree they are giving? Nothing. It's a 1-year program. Ahead of IIM Ahmedabad and ISB. Last example, Sunstone, India's #2 MBA today, doesn't own a single building. So all I'm trying to say is this fascination
But
with
they're too
degrees is over.
far, too few, Pankaj. I
So
think.
I agree, that's the beginning. I'm saying that it has started only last 5 years. That's why I'm saying we need investors. Government has done their bit, NEB has happened, they have got enough happening. The other side, there is enough happening on the corporation side. Now we all need to come together. I'm so glad that TV9 is doing it. No channel is covering jobs as an agenda. Only I see political rhetoric saying that this government should fall, jobs are not there. I'm hearing when I was a kid. So it's
So
the
you're
time.
saying there are enough jobs?
I'm not saying enough jobs. Jobs are not existing because of global problem. Jobs are going away. The only way, look at India. Which sector job is created? GCCs. Every week we have 2 GCCs being opened in India. That's the job. What are the next jobs coming? The bike drivers, right? Electric vehicles. My fund is investing in that. So I'm saying let's find areas where jobs can happen and create commercial viability. Our problem is we think it's government's problem. It's prime minister or chief minister. No one can solve it. They have done the policy decisions. It's up to us, for all industry people to come together, and HR leaders, if they are sitting here, they've got to accept kids in internship. That's the only way to go, my take.
All right. And I think, Karthik, I believe you can come in here. For private companies to start participating now, to start investing, to, put their money where the mouth is. They have not been able to roll the government's internship scheme despite a policy framework in place. Government also suggesting that it's going to help with at least the first tranche of salaries. What's holding the private sector back?
I think you're referring to the PM 2024
That's
internship
right.
scheme. I think it's taken off in some measures, but not taken off in the scale that it was imagined to be. I think the ELI part of the scheme is still to be notified. So to that extent, I'm not blame too much on the private side. I think that's still to come through. I think a very large part of the problem as well that we are facing as a society, and to the previous point that you spoke about, is the fact that today if you have a delivery person in Bangalore, he pretty much with no education at all earns 30 to 40,000 rupees. So it's not just skills, it is equally wages, it bases productivity. So if you have alternates, available for an individual to be able to make that kind of money, very few want to get into an internship apprenticeship scheme which pays them only 5,000 or 10,000. A very large part of the problem that I face is attrition at my base of nearly about 3.5 lakh people is 10 to 15% a month. And as much derisively as we look upon them, they actually switch jobs for 5-10% hike. Mm-hmm. So when we have many of these schemes which are put across, it is actually not so much aspirational saying, I want to work over here, learn this skill and do that. I want to get paid immediately, and whatever kind of get paid me immediately, I want to kind of move towards that. I think fundamentally, it's a sourcing problem which is taking place as we speak.
All right. Jaspreet, I think people want some dignity in jobs. And as much as, it pays you to be a delivery person, it is an interim job. People are still looking for a job which can give them some sort of guarantees when they go back home at the end of the day. And unfortunately, there are not many that jobs right now. Where's the problem? We discussed that there is some sort of policy implementation in place. Government is hand-holding. There's enough money coming in. I think will is a problem. Investment, as Pankaj pointed out, is a problem. How do you really summarize where the problem lies in perhaps 60 seconds?
I think it's how the entire ecosystem comes together, right? Like as Pankaj said, government's doing its job. Karthik said corporates are doing their job. People are always eager to earn more and more, right? I think it's how you bridge the gap together, how you bring the entire ecosystem together on a single page, not look at 2 years, 4 years problem. Look at what are the sunshine sectors that are going to, have jobs. For example, GCCs, right? Everybody's talking about GCCs coming in. Every week, 2 or 3 companies entering India. Why can't we invest ahead of the curve and look at what are the skills needed to deliver in those GCCs, say 24 months to 36 months down the line, and start training those people now. Totally agree with the point on the internships should start not after 12th engineering, first year, second year. It should start from class 10th. Today, at least a lot of forward-looking schools have started curriculums on AI, computer science, as early as class 7th, class 8th, and that is the way to go. Because I'm not talking about whether you want a degree or whether you don't want a degree, but these AI and some of the other technologies will become basic life skills.
Okay.
And that is where the entire technology, government, public-private partnership has to play as an ecosystem.
All right, I think I've run out of time, but to summarize, by 2047, about 60% of our workforce will be under the age of 35. We risk making this demographic dividend, turning it into a demographic disaster if we don't do something now. And perhaps skilling, reskilling, upskilling, that's the nature of the game going forward. Let's quickly take a question. Yes, sir, before we wind up.
So I'm Amitabh Ghosh. I don't live here. I live in the US. So one overall picture that we're probably not factoring into the discussion is we're talking mostly of technology reskilling, right? So there are probably 15 lakh engineers being produced and maybe, I don't know, 50,000 jobs. So, say there's somebody from Tata Motors here today, right? So anyway, how many engineers is Tata Motors hiring and how much is the output? And multiplied that by 5 times. So that's one thing. And you're ignoring the 94% which are not into technology and not have college degrees. Like part of India earns less than 200. So what are they going to do? So I think that is the huge demographic liability that you are referring to. And that has a much, you cannot skill them in a university. They can't even afford to go to a university. So that is the huge problem, I think, which we are facing.
All right, thank you for that input. Anybody else? Yes, sir.
I have one observation during the discussion, actually. There are a lot of rules, laws, advocacy being followed by our government to follow for creation of private company, whether it is private limited company, whatever may be. Why not in private sector, when people are recruiting, there should be advocacy from the government end that there should be some parameters for recruiting the people. I request all the fellow panelists to have an idea.
What parameters, sir?
That is what the parameters, that if you were talking about the skilling part, in this particular session you are comparing the skills with the education, actually, what I understood. If the skills is there, why the private company cannot retain their staff for a long time?
Okay, so
this is
if I'm reading that question right, you're
Yeah.
suggesting why do we really need a degree
Yes.
if we have the right skills?
If they recruit a competent person on the competent place,
I think we
then
all
why
agree on
did-
that.
why
All the
did-
panelists agree on that?
Comment here. So the largest skilling program in the world is happening in India. I think we are underestimating in India, in civil servants. We have 2.8 crore civil servants. I'm on the board, disclaimer, Karmyogi Bharat. That's Prime Minister's initiative. 2.8 crore people. As we speak in last 1 year, 80 lakh government officers. I'm sure some of you are sitting here are on this platform called Karmyogi Bharat. So we are only worrying about skilling of people who are entering the workforce. Think about the people who are in the workforce. 1 out of 2 will be out of job because they're not skilled. So government has taken the first step for its own officers. Since independence, nothing was done. No, there were training institutions, traditional training. This is IGOT, launched by Karmyogi Bharat. So happening. Secondly, 77% of the corporations are clearly saying and indicating that we will invest in reskilling of our workforce. So this is an equally big problem, Shweta, as we move forward. It's not just the workforce which is yet to enter.
Totally agree.
Yes, sir.
Shweta, my worries is it is being 30 years in the professional world, listening all the panelists since last 25 years. We in India is the buyer-based organizations, right? My buyer has a price tag for every service and product. When we talk about skilling, now from last 1 decade, even the government budgets are falling like on gold sheets, right, of the management, which is cascaded to the different ministries now. These numbers, when Pankaj gives 6,000 crore number, which means 100 rupees for the 60 crore workforce, that we are going to skill. And when we talk about these things, how it is going to talk about the sustainable job? Is job is the problem, or getting on a sustainable job every time is the problem? So we need to address the right thing.
I wonder if there's anything called like a sustainable job today, a job in which you can sustain for years. I'm not sure, Pankaj, would you like to take that question?
Even government can't guarantee you. They are skilling people so that you get that passport so that you're skillable. Your skill is the only passport to guarantee a job, otherwise go gig. And there are, if you're talking traditional definition, then it's green jobs, but that's sustainability different. But if you're saying that my job will remain with me for life, there is no such job exist in the world.
Sir, rather we can talk about the sustainable career rather than the job versus career.
So then you need a skill passport. That's the skill passport each one of us need to have. Every 5 years, go back and think what we can do.
Yeah, Mr. Karthik, do you have any observation for my question actually?
Sir, you have to say that question again.
I have already placed the question actually beyond every of you.
Could you repeat the question?
Could you repeat that
please?
question, please?
There should be a proper advocacy from the government side for recruiting for the private jobs actually, private job employer I am talking about. What is your take on that, because you are a recruiting company?
Should you be recruiting somebody who doesn't have a degree? Let's say I'm a class 12th pass out, I have the skills you need. Will you be recruiting me, or would you still need me to have a bachelor's degree?
Well, to be honest with you, I think it's, the skills or credentialing, as we call it, it's really used as a sorting parameter as we speak by private companies, depending on the kind of jobs that people are applying for. But outside of that, at least in the space that we are occupying it, and which is really minimum wages, there's really no threshold which is being kept for anybody. There is some sort of a threshold which is there as far as services jobs are concerned, where you required basic skills, etc., and all that. But outside of that, I really don't think so. Government should get into it in terms of mandating, saying what should be the minimum qualification. I think we have the other set of problem, which is not enough skilled people to even meet a threshold. Right. In fact, of recent, the changes that I've seen is large manufacturing plants are mandating anybody who was even 8 or 9 standard pass out to be able to join them, because they've been given 3 months of training and then they come on the assembly line. Right.
Yeah. A question to all the panelists. What is the relevance now of all the skills council that the country created? A number of them. And I ask this question because I come from space GIS, that is an industry. And we've been advocating a skills council for this industry that is supposedly sunrise industry. And all we get from the government is that, see, the other skills councils are not working, they are running into losses. So what's your take? Are they still relevant, or some different alternative mechanisms are needed for the country?
Is that question to anyone in particular?
Anyone who would like to answer.
I would like to add one thing into that, right? Because there are the skill sector councils, right, which we have. Skill sector councils which we have like textile. Okay, where the spinning industry is diminishing like anything else, we do still have an existence of this, whereas the power loom is coming in, the chemical industry roles comes into that. We have wood panel industry, but we do not realize that it is not the wood, now it is an MDF and the PDF, and we do not have any skill sector. We have automobile sector, right? But we do not have anything specific to EV industry, and whole of the nation is going towards that. So now you can add on.
We'll answer.
Thanks. Actually, what I would like to just again, it is your, yeah. Just to take what I have started, let me mention that at whatever workforce we are having and comparing, because when we are talking about global workforce, majority of ours as our skill level, if you take the 50%, 56% as level 2, means level 2, where actually if you take developed country, it is 60% and above on the level 4 actually. So let us see whatever the workforce we are having, and as you are saying, a lot need to be done actually whatever existing, that is one. Second thing is, as he has asked about the councils, we always create with the good intention, and whatever it is existing, but the efficacy of the councils need to be looked very, very seriously. And let me say, if that is working, then probably this panel might be irrelevant actually, because the skilling is happening. And second thing is, what I would like to say, mostly focus on the whatever upcoming workforce, which is youth actually, because they are in the school, they are in the colleges, they are the university. Let us start which is coming into the workforce. Let us first correct that actually, by which at least we are going to get the right type of people according to our requirement, that skill. So it is a responsibility of educator, it is a responsibility of policymaker, it is also responsibility of individual youth to find out what best skill is required, and each one should keep the where India is going to next 5 years. Let us take your responsibility up front and serve the country.
Thank you, Dr. Shukla, for that very candid answer.
Any other question? Yes.
Hello everyone, my name is Amrinder. So my question to the panel is, like, we are talking about what will happen and what should be happen. But my question is, what of those who are currently pursuing the degrees? Like, I am a student and I am pursuing a law degree of a law degree, 5-year law degree. I have to spend total 5 years in my college with a minimum 5 months internship in court. So my question is, what are your suggestions to the students who are pursuing the degree? And the second, as sir mentioned, Pankaj sir, that why not internships in the classrooms 9 to 5? So if we see from the eyes of law, it is not possible at all. So like, we have to go to courts, see the proceedings. So how can we shift the court to the classrooms or the classrooms to the courts? Thank you.
Sorry, what's your name?
Amrinder Singh Gill.
Amrinder, which college are you from?
I am from Asian Education Group, Noida.
Do you think your internship period should be extended beyond 5 months?
Yes, absolutely.
Do you think it doesn't equip you?
Might be.
If that's your experience, of course. I mean, I just wanted to understand, but I think, yes, Mr. James.
We should understand that of the undergraduate students who come out, who pass out, less than 50% only are getting a job which can be called a job. Let us realize this first of all. Secondly, when we are talking about Viksit Bharat and all that, we should understand we have almost 70% rural population in this country. How are we going to address this rural population? How are you going to take your AI, ML to them? This is a question which we'll have to answer very clearly, because this is a fear I have whenever I talk about it. Why I'm saying is that, what are the facilities available in the rural areas, rural colleges? And most of the students who are studying are from the rural areas. They never had any background. When they come to an engineering college, they don't have much of a background. As you have said, that 12th class and 9th standard and all that they should have studied, they have not studied anything. So we have got a large rural population, which we can talk, we can say that mobile first, all that we can say, but if you want to train them, that is a challenge for the country. If we can reach the rural population, perhaps half of the problem can be solved. And secondly, are we serious about, we have this ARIA ranking, we have got this, all this self-reliant India, all this we are talking about. Are we really serious about it? I'm seeing the products which are coming out of the academic institutions by the students. These are reinventing the wheel. Is there something original coming out?
No, sir, this is
How much percentage of the products and solutions which come out of the universities are, we are going to compete with certain countries who are highly advanced. So are we fit for that? This is a question, if we are not, what are we going to do?
Sir, we will find the way. We didn't have the answers. Why are we still believing mobile worked for us? Look at direct bank transfers. I can give you 100 examples why it can't happen in skilling. I think we should paint a picture which is a reality.
No, we should
I
take
understand.
up the challenge.
Sir, your complex question has a simple answer. In rural, I know we don't have a clear answer, but gig is an answer. 77 lakh gig workers were there in 2021. As we speak today, by 2030, we will have 2.4 crores. This is conservative numbers of Niti Aayog. I'm not saying this. I'm not making it up. So we will have opportunities, sir. Do we have answers? We don't have an answer. People made fun when Nandan Nilekani talked about UPI. Look at today, it's a reality. So it will happen, sir. If you ask me a roadmap, I can't give today, but it will happen. Glass is half full, sir.
1 second. I'll give you one example. Whether it is good or bad, Tamil Nadu government has introduced a scheme called Nan Mudalvar. What they are trying to do is that each industry should have their experts as mentors for students in the colleges. And it is working well as it looks. I'm not saying that it has achieved all its goal, but it is working well. That is to say, each industry in Tamil Nadu will have one expert attached to, he will be a mentor to the student in the college. And it is working well. And I don't say it is working 100% well, but this is something which can be imitated. And we can have this system introduced in other places of the country also.
I think just to add a point, I think Pankaj, you made an excellent point. We may not have a solution today, but I think the way micro education is going to the villages through short videos, etc. I think yes, there's always a lot more that can be done, but that's a beautiful start, right? If you look at in the beginning of the panel, we spoke about that, less reliance on university, colleges, degree, etc. If we are able to accept micro education, micro credentials as education learning, as somebody who's learned looking at, say, a 200-hour course from a video online perspective, YouTube, internet is available in all villages today, right? If I can learn something there and get my job from there, and from there take my career to new heights by doing maybe a 3-year offline course or whatever, I think the future is in front of us. Then it's on us. How do we enable this entire piece from villages?
Okay, I see a lot of hands are up. I have run out of time. If we can take all the questions together, perhaps I'll be able to get you answers. Yes.
Yes. Very good afternoon, everyone. I have one experience. Like recently, I have done my executive MBA from FMS Delhi University, which is come with one of the best college for general management. So the question is that I worked almost 14 years. Then went there to just enhance my skills. It's my personal experience. But what I'm feeling, after doing so much hard work, I use like a lot of AI as well tools while you're doing assignment and everything there. But where I am, seeing the problem, like how to connect with the employer. That where I'm like, with me, this is one more guy. He's also feeling the same problem. You have to connect with the employer. We have a good skills. We have worked very hard. We know basically how to deal with any situations actually. But even the problem we face, we can find the answer. But we don't know to connect with the employer. Do you have any suggestion how to go with?
We will try and get you an answer. If you could switch off your mic. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, Namaste. My name is Dheeraj. I am founder of Skills Connect, and I've been in this business for many years, where we're trying to help skilled youngsters to connect with the industry and get into jobs. So maybe we can connect offline. But I think I was having a discussion.
There you have it. That's your answer.
But I've been listening to all of the panelists, and I was having a chat. And it's just a suggestion, and Pankaj and Karthik can maybe take it. Why don't we create a skills-based valuation metrics for MSMEs, which are the largest employers of skilled workforce in the country? And by doing that, not only will we be incentivizing for them to gain some sort of a skill-linked incentives, SLI, from government, by projecting it that they have hired so many people with so much skills, and this is their index. Now, I'm not saying it's a solution right in our face, but if using a tech and all the scaling infrastructure and technology that is currently being deployed, if we can create this sort of a metric or index through MSMEs, I think it can attract a lot of sort of interest in industry pushing to hire and
Right.
showcase that I've hired a skilled individual. and
Absolutely,
that
sir.
will-
We'll take this
Yeah.
conversation. Thank you for bringing this up. We'll take this conversation perhaps after the session. We've completely run out of time. My apologies. We've run out of time. You can connect with all the panelists after this session. I think we've overshot quite a bit here, but let's quickly sum it up. I think it's a very complex problem that we're doing enough. So I think we need to do far more than what we're doing at the moment. But thank you, all of you, to all the panelists and audience.